Alrighty, welcome to the Total Business Transformation Workshop. This is episode 5. This workshop's all about helping coaches scale to up to 7 figures while staying aligned with their sole purpose, using the ease and flow method, which we're going to get into like real details of what that is now. And today's episode is all about pivoting your business. Like when to burn things down and when to just, pivot. And with us is always is Kavita Singh, who will share her journey. Thanks for joining, Kavita.
Thank you, Brian.
So to start us off, let's talk about, the moments when a coach needs to pivot their business. So maybe it's like, I've been serving these people, but now I want to serve these people. Or I've gotten here and I'm just feeling called to kind of do something a little bit different. One of those things being scaling your business while keeping the intimacy of what you get from coaching. Personally, I think it's kind of gross how a lot of people just want to like scale and put everything into just like a thing and just like get them out of it. It's like, then why are you fucking coaching in the first place? But I don't know. Everyone's got their own journey. That's just my little thing at the moment. But yeah, you've hit that point. You hit 7 figures with your business and then started to look into like, okay, how do I scale but keeping the intimacy? So can you tell us a bit about your journey with that? And if you want to go into a bit of like, and how you got to that place in the first place, that feel free to do that as well.
Okay, awesome. So yeah, I want to start first with the point of intimacy and scalability, because that has been a recent desire of mine. I would say in the past year, it's almost a year now since I met you, Brian. So definitely that was the desire at the time that we bumped into each other, because I did know how to run a business and keep it in a very intimate level. But I was concerned about scaling it. Like, what if I lost the intimacy? That was so important for me that I wasn't willing to scale my business in the name of losing the intimacy. So I didn't. I hovered with a certain number of clients, and then having my income, go up and down based on where I'm at, where I want to serve people, and what was happening in their dynamics. So on an interesting point, I felt that it was good that I can have that sort of flexibility. That's how I was viewing it, because if my family needed more of me, then I can tone down the intensity and speed of my business. And if there was more freedom of time and space and all these things, I can certainly turn up the heat. But I kept it within a certain realm, a certain space. So with that being said, I think as I got to the level where I recognize that I do have more spaciousness and I am capable, and it can be quite a challenge to feel and read people's energy naturally, that if you're not aware of the depth of it, sometimes it takes you over, because you do it so naturally. Sometimes you forget to like take a little bit of precaution and sort yourself out. So those sorts of dynamics I had to clear when I talked about capability. And that's when I truly started to embrace the word scalability. Like, all right, I can do this, and I know that there's a way that I can do this, and still have the sort of relationships that I adore with my clients. So yes, that was the first thing. And so to answer your question from my personal journey, in recognizing my capacity, that's when I chose to pivot and take the business to another level. For other people, when to pivot would be based on their relationship with their business. If it feels heavy, if it feels I would say terrifying, like if it feels bigger than you, and you've got to show up and do the thing, whatever the feelings are. It's really a call for expansion, it's a call for refinement, it's a call for um, paying attention to the moving parts, not from a place of running from it, but really from a place of seeing um, the next level, the next chapter, the next um, opportunity to grow. So I'll stop there, but I think I answered your question both for myself and the people.
Yeah. Yeah. So that like pivot can feel like, yeah, like you said, it's like there's some bigger calling happening, or it could also just come from like what we've talked about before of like, you've built your business following everyone else's templates, or like building it some other way, or building it from ego or some, and then you realize like what you built isn't actually what you want. It was what the industry told you to do, what seems shiny and easy or good. Like, yeah, it didn't really come from the inside so much. And then recognizing that and like, oh, and now I'm burnt out and stressed and not having any fun with this. That can also be the like part of the need for the pivot. So what was it? How is the scaling with intimacy gone? Like we've come across other coaches who are interested in that. What have you found in being able to do that?
Right. One of the things that I've had to embrace on an even deeper level is my love for technology. So it's funny, in starting the coaching business and really embracing my intuition, I sort of divorced my technology life. So to really embrace that in the full capacity of the word. And then I had to reunite those two parts. So while I was doing this, in the last 2 years of my business on a higher scale, I wasn't doing it from the perspective of scalability. I was doing it from the perspective of creative freedom and expression with technology. So that was another shift and choice that I needed to make to really embrace what that means. And now, in terms of scalability, it's really having platforms that I truly enjoy showing up in, using. Like I said, not just for creative expression, but as a form of communication, as a form of strengthening those relationships, right? And coming back to the point that you made earlier that had me laughing was, the behavior with some people, like they build everything out so that they can run away from it. They can have all the automations and have things going, and they don't need to be there. But if you're coaching, if you're saying you're a coach, you have to coach in some capacity, and therefore you get to decide what are the parts of the business that truly light you up, and what are the parts that you want to automate. I mean, I do advocate for automation in the sense of it's there to help you not do repetitive tasks, and to help you with even specific functions within the business. But definitely don't put that at the cost of relationships. For me, relationships are the most valuable things. And yeah, I wouldn't put technology to try to nurture relationships. Just doesn't work for me.
Yeah. Yeah. And I like how you're saying, like, like the pivoting and scaling with intimacy being like, well, you found the way that works for you. You love technology. That became a part of it. You love like interactions in your own way, which like from what I know of you is like, you like to kind of get in like text messages. You like to get in like some dialogue and have a little back and forth there. And you want to make sure that it's the right people showing up for you. So what I know how this ended up looking for you, just based on what I know is like, well, then you realize like the wealth frequency challenge kind of became your like a way to get people in. And like that involves doing some real work. So that's going to be like that's filtering people out who just want everything handed to them. And it also like gets people in the area that you're really effective in helping people with, which is money falls from the sky. And
Yes.
yeah, so you just like found what the things that you enjoy that work for you. It's really cool that like, yeah, you took this area that you used to love and like, oh, now this is a time for it to show up again and bring it back. And realizing you could do this because you're in a place like with your like family life and everything where it's like, oh yeah, I've got like capacity for this, I can start to go in this direction. So yeah, so it's less about the like, here's Kavita's model for scaling with intimacy, everyone do this, because like, no, because not everyone wants to have all those conversations, not everyone wants to deal with technology. I'm one of those people. Both of those things don't sound so great. I want to like get
Exactly.
on the phone and like do that conversation versus like a lot of the texting stuff that you like to do. I'm like, let's hash it out in an hour, and you're like, let's figure it all out over WhatsApp. Yeah.
Yeah,
So
but I love that you're saying that, because saying it in that way too, because I'm not ever advocating that my way of doing something is everybody's way of doing something. I mean, usually when they're coming into my world anyway, it is for me to help them find what their unique streak is and how that works, and again, tying it into their soul lessons, whatever they're meant to learn. I just give a perfect example with my stories, what I was facing and things that I needed to pay attention to in order to learn the thing. So to just wrap up that thought, um, you know, one of my faulty beliefs in my human psyche is I'm not capable. And it's been a belief that has ran in the background of a lot of things in my life. And I have spent the last, I was able to name that belief maybe 5 years ago, like really catch it and name it for what it is. And I have spent the last 5 years um, addressing it in all different angles, because up until that point when I named it, it was just running my life in all the areas of my life. So I had to like, I undid it in one category in my life, and I'm like, oh, but it now shows up here and it shows up that way. So was really addressing different areas to do so. And I mean, Brian, from what you know of me too, there is no reason why I should believe that I'm not capable, right? For the things that I do and all the challenges I put myself through. So it's funny how beliefs can work in that way. Um, so yeah, so that was the limiting belief that I was facing, which was tied into, okay, now I've got to scale my business and I wanted to maintain the intimacy. And then the soul lesson in all of that journey to getting to where I'm at today is, well, first of all, the challenge to get over to the other side of that pattern was communication, which is something I named to you, Brian. I'm like, oh, what is this thing about communication? So that's how it showed up for me, right? So the belief was I'm not capable. The path to get to the other side was communication. And the soul lesson in all of it was to really um, stand for the core values that I believed in, especially the one that is wired in my psyche in terms of what I teach in the industry. So a lot of the work that I do is helping people with transformation, which includes um, death and rebirth. So it could be them going to the next level of their life, them, killing a complete identity that they no longer serves them, and all that stuff.
well, that's a
Um,
pivot.
yes, it is. And to get to that point where, that and taboo subjects doesn't faze me, but it can be very unnerving for some people. And for me to be able to have the soul lesson of really owning that, but doing it from a place of grace and compassion, and yet being assertive with it, and standing my ground. Whereas it transmutes everything, including, you know, and I'm getting a little bit personal now, Brian, but you know the story as well, including my dynamics with my marriage and everything else. It was for me to really play out that whole storyline and stand for what I believe in. And whatever was an illusion fell away, and whatever was the truth remains. Like, again, that is the whole core of my work. So it depends on the person coming in. I pay attention to what their storylines are, what are the challenges that they're facing, what are their soul lessons, and help them through that. And all of this happens while you're building your business and making money. Like, for me, I believe in the best of both worlds. So while we're here, why can't we just have like really amazing soul evolution and a successful business?
Yeah. It's like the business becomes the vehicle for the soul evolution, the personal growth, the soul lessons. Like you just get all that through growing the business rather than like the side workshop you do twice a year or whatever,
Absolutely.
Like, oh, let me stop my business so I can discover the truths of the universe and like grow as a human. Like, nah, or do it all together. Cool.
Yeah.
So and it sounds like I'm just getting like the framework for handling the pivoting is the same framework that we've been talking the entire time for getting clear on your messaging and building your coaching business and all that stuff. It's that ease and flow method, which basically comes down to like start with intuition, get clear, like find that calling or just that inclination, starting from that place with the clear, pure energy, not from ego, not from need to prove yourself or like fear, all that other stuff. Like start from that pure intention. Then find the more logical kind of strategic pieces of like, well, now how are you going to like put this into the world? And from there, like within that, not just following whatever looks shiny and neat, but what are your strengths? What are your core values? What's the lifestyle that you want? Like, are you a Kavita tech person? So then, of course, build the tech thing. Are you a Brian, I hate tech person? So then you do it a totally different way. And it's not about like, oh, this is the best way. It's like, find, the right path for you. And then the other piece that we've alluded to is getting that coaching piece to, like we talked about in the last episode, kind of see your blind spots. Because I meant to bring this up in the last episode, then I forgot of like, the coaching part of, like I mentioned, Kavita helping me find my blind spots around like seeing what was it? Falling in love with people's potential, right? Like I was doing that. And then so client like intake calls aren't going great. And it's not like an issue with the script or whatever. It's because I'm falling in love with potential. I'm not really clear on what a good client really is. And then she helped with that. And then the like intake calls got a lot better and more successful. So having that, like the coach, that outside perspective to see the blind spots, help you, whether it's blind spots with, hey, is this my intuition or not? Like we get a lot of those, coach comes in of like, oh, there's 3 things I think I should be working on. And we're like, it's this one. Like, that's the one that's like, we both feel lit up, do that one. And then also, the coaching around like, but there's 50 different things. And this one is the one that my other, like people, everyone says is the best. It's like, but you're good at that. So like, we've had clients with that and we're like, but you're good at this thing. And that thing works also. It's just not showing up on your Facebook news feed and all the ads or whatever, but it works. So go do that thing you enjoy that you're good at, which is how you've gotten 80% of your clients anyway. They're like, oh, okay, I'll go do that. That being the framework for just like kind of how you did your pivot. You felt I'm being called something else. You did the practical steps. They came into place of, and here's how to do it. And you've gotten a lot of coaching along the way. I know you've got a business coach and a couple mentors right now. I've got a business coach, a mindset coach, and you. So I'm getting a lot of people pointing out my blind spots, which is wonderful. So that was a long rant, and that's basically the I wanted to really just land the plane on the fuck's the season flow method we've been alluding to, but not laying down clearly for 5 episodes. It's that, all right?
Yeah, and I do want to speak to the part of coaches as well. Like, you know, so the whole point of hiring a coach is to get where you want to go faster. Like that's the bottom line. It doesn't mean that you need to hire somebody that's gonna uh take you to your destination faster that doesn't embody your core values, because then they're gonna do it in a way that doesn't fit well in your system and it doesn't serve you in any way, shape, or form. So please don't do that. Um, what you want is somebody to help guide you for the parts that you haven't been able to move on your own. Um, for somebody who has maybe more experience than you, who's been playing this much longer and has the capacity to speak what works for you versus what works for them, and you're following their model of how they did it, right? The formula can be the same, what they've used and what you're choosing to use from them, but it has to apply to you. And so I do want to offer you that distinction as you go about this. Um, it is best to invest in coaches who will take the time to uh, understand you, recognize you, honor who you are, and support your journey with what you need to get done, um, versus what all the um, mass media is saying, you know. And so Brian is a beautiful person to have in your reality, to really recognize with all the pieces of you and what's happening within your world and your head and your heart and your mind and all the maybe conflict that's happening for all the different parts of you. He's really good at helping you identify um, your core voice and your core message and all of that. I'm usually the kind of person to talk about the nuances about things and the distinctions. And Brian know this very well. I'm like, yes, that's true, but this is where it wouldn't work, and this is how it would work for you, but it doesn't apply over there. So don't do it over there. So in that way, we make a great team, not only in this whole transformational journey of your business, but it's also about navigating, each step of the way to get there. So things you get to pay attention to based on where you're at in your journey, and if it is that you feel overwhelmed or cluttered, I think Brian has some things too there that will help to bring clarity to mind. And I know we're not to the end of this recording, but I want you to think about those things as we continue to speak, so you recognize what you want in all of this, because we're not just talking for the sake of talking, right? It's really to benefit you. So go ahead, Brian.
Well, that was very cool. Yeah, and so what's coming up for me is like, well, if we're just gonna say nice things about each other's coaching, what I've seen a lot with Kavita, there's a couple things that really excite me about your coaching is one, like that you said about like that distinction. Like there's always a deeper level than, at least from my experience, than I think. I'm like, oh, I think I landed it. I think I figured it out. Like, this is the thing. And then there's always a level of like, well, actually, within that, there's a couple different ways it could go. Like, oh, I think I've got like my avatar nailed. And she's like, well, what about these parts? Like, yeah, nope, those parts are important. Didn't think about that. Okay, I'll do that. And I'm a freaking copywriter, been doing this for 8 years. Like, I'm good at it. And then it's like, no matter what, whenever I think I have an answer, I've learned to always be like, but there's probably some distinctions in there, because there always is, and she's going to find it, which is just going to like save you time from, there's a distinction of like, well, it would work, half of it would work and half of it won't. So when you think you got it and then you're wondering why it doesn't work, Kavita helps you get like, well, that's because there's this 50% that you get rid of, and then you focus on this bit, and that's where it works. You're like, all right, let's go. And then the other part of it is, like we talked about, how building your business becomes your personal growth journey. Kavita's like, can help you point out what's your soul lesson in why this isn't working. Like, no, like that was again back to like some of my sales calls was like, no, it wasn't a script. another part of it, in addition to getting more specific and clear on who my people were, was also a soul lesson in being assertive. So when Kavita's like, that's your lesson right now. And then I'm like, cool. All right. Let's see where I can do that in every area of my life. And that gets really cool.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah. So having the distinctions, and like, yeah, there's also a thing I noticed from your coaching of like, everyone, yeah, actually, that's what I loved about yours. Like when you're like, clients hit that point where everything feels great and you're like, cool, like that's a starting point now. For a lot of people, that's like, everything's great, I don't need coaching anymore. And you're like, nah, A, we can go way higher. B, stuff's gonna like come up and get caught in the spokes, and we're gonna be ready for it and deal with that now, not you come crawling back in 6 months going, oh no, I hit a wall. Because of course you did, because that's what we're here, is a constant, never-ending journey of climbing over walls.
It's not a never-ending journey, but I get your point. Yeah, I love taking clients to the next level and the next level. So there's that. But yes, there are some people when they like kind of leave too soon, and I'm like, hey, not the best move. But they do it from a place of like, I think I got this and I want to try it out for myself and see on my own. I'm like, we're getting to that point. This is like phase one. You found your wings, but you need to strengthen it before you go off and fly. So that's what Brian is referring to in terms of the walls. So yeah. But there's also this part where my husband would say, I don't understand your business model. You're teaching transformation, and then they go off, and then what happens? I'm like, yeah, they're free to go. I don't want my clients to necessarily stay with me. But at some point they come back whenever they're facing some change and transformative energy in their field. And then some clients who do that at a rapid pace, they see it as, well, dang, I just want you in my back pocket as back pocket. I'm tying that up, but it's like a genie in your pocket kind of thing is what I wanted to say. That's how they feel, where they can navigate the things before it happens. Because I usually point that out, which makes me a bad parent. My kids completely hate me for that, because I'd be like, hey, heads up, do this thing. And they're like, what are you talking about? I don't see any evidence of that. And then the thing happens, and then they just hate it because they needed to say mom was right. I don't need that validation, but they just don't like having that kind of mom. And at some point, they're like, all right, let's listen. If I do this, I'd save myself some time and energy and all the things. But like that with clients. There's something else I want to say too about this whole idea of coaching and transformation, experiencing personal transformation as part of your business model. It's really designed for coaches who call themselves a transformational coach, right? Or who want that experience for their clients. This is how you walk your talk. But if you're building a business model where you're like, I'm doing something, I'm selling a product or whatever other forms of business, I'm doing a done for you service with other people, it may not show up in your business directly, but it certainly shows up for you personally in your personal life. So this is where you can apply these same things from a more behind the scenes aspect of your life rather than in your business, because your business is providing a finished product, right? But as a transformational coach, you're definitely showing your starting point, the messy middle, and the transformation at the end. And I truly believe in walking your talk. Like, that's the best way to sell transformation, right? To show how it's done and to you to transfer your entire life, and then to support others in their journey. So wanted to point that out, Brian. What else you got for me?
Lovely. I think we're about done for what we covered. The last piece we were just going to talk about, like, what's the parts of coaching that you enjoy?
Well, two things I want to say. First of all,
enjoy helping people with.
Yeah, that's why I'm saying two things. One, it's I'm thinking about when I have my mentors or coaches, It doesn't always need to be a business piece that I'm sorting out. Sometimes it can be quite personal. Um, Sometimes it can be a particular skill set that I'm working with or a particular value that I'm not able to integrate properly. So the way I approach getting a coach or mentor is quite different than what most people do. But I know that that's the needed piece in order for me to get to whatever outcome that I'm going towards. So there's always that. In terms of what I enjoy helping people with, um, I enjoy helping people succeed, to see that they can accomplish something that they thought was impossible. I enjoy um, seeing them live their best life. I enjoy um, them creating beautiful memories every step of the way in the journey to the whatever outcomes that they're looking for. Um, I enjoy um, when they get to that point when they recognize that it's so simple. Um, when
That's
all
fun.
those, yeah, the beliefs and the whatever limitation things are cleared out, and they're like, oh my gosh, this is so
I can
simple. I
just do
can
the
do
thing
this
that I
all day
want to
long.
do, that I like and I'm good at. Like,
Yeah. And really, I think for many of the clients that work with me, they also get to recognize that um, while we achieve their monetary goals, money was just a byproduct. Everything else that we also did was priceless compared to the money that came in. And it's also why I don't always, pitch myself as a wealth coach in that way, because I focus first on relationships and then building wealth through relationships. Um, Especially relationship with yourself, because if you know who you are, then you're not only better at creating wealth, but in sustaining it, right? Because you'll know how you operate and why it is what it is that you're meant to do in this lifetime, and all those things that are associated with what you're being guided to create. So um yeah, I enjoy watching people win at the game of life. And Brian knows this as well. I'm always showing people how you're always winning, no matter what's happening. Yep. Anything else you want to add there, Brian, for what you know of me?
no, I mean, I kind of went on the rant already of what I like about your coach, what I've seen.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, and I'll just add that for my part, the part that I enjoy about helping people is the like helping them release the things that they're told to do, think they should do, ought to do, um, or just like is driven by fear, and helping them like get in touch with the part that's like actually them, because that's just
Hmm.
exciting and liberating and freeing. And it's like, and that's the pattern that happens over and over again, is my clients just feel lighter and freer, and then have like more time, more expansiveness, more options. And it, like, work goes from being this like heavy trudge to like this thing that they're excited about and enjoying again. And yeah, helping that and doing that through like what's really you here, and what you're being told to do, the thing that you're trying to live up to, all this other kind of stuff that's in there running the show without us often even realizing it. It's endlessly fascinating to me just to find out what that is, and then really fun to watch what happens once that is let go of. And it's like, all right, well, like, what do you really want here? What can we do? And then then people get lit up and it gets really exciting. So that's my favorite bit.
Well, what I like about what you do, Brian, and I think, this is something that people tend to overlook, but it's the simplicity and the clarity that you bring in the shortest amount of time for
Yeah.
your clients. Um, I think that's priceless because, if they're trying, it's kind of like this. You went on a journey and you collected some garbage along the way. And then you're trying to find yourself, but you've got a ton of garbage. You just can't see it for yourself. But if you're having Brian in the room and you start to like unravel all the pieces, you get sorted. You recognize what's yours and what's not, and what you want to do with what you have, and it becomes a much more speedy process to where you want to go. So again, people know this, and yet they can be like, yeah, but I can do that by myself. No, no, don't do that. You really can't, because there's some place you wouldn't see properly anyway.
Yeah, it's a tricky thing. I've been noticing it because it can very often just be a very simple thing. It's not a big like, oh my God. It's just like, oh yeah. So it's like simple, and then they get clarity, and then they're going. And then some of them, like, that's why it's another like thing you help me with, of like finding the people that value that, because some people are like, well, that was so simple. What did I even need you for? And I'm just sitting there being like, well, you spent 2 years working on it and didn't get there, and then we knocked it out in 40 minutes. So like, yeah, I think there was something in there that was helpful.
Yeah, absolutely. But that's also the beauty of it, right? It's the simplicity. It's what's key. It's not a, 10,000 steps to get to where you want to go. And it's also true because of you've been practicing this all your life. This is part of your genius that you bring to the table.
I've been a simple man all my life.
You've seen it. Yeah, you've been seeing it. You've been able to identify it. You probably haven't claimed it as much in the earlier parts of your life, but you know it, you see it, you recognize it. And that's what people are also not remembering to contribute as part of the factor. Like the things that I do, I've got my own crazy obsession to get me to this level of seeing it within 5 minutes. This is the thing, this is what it is. And when I say it, it sounds so simple and it's so clear, and it's like, well, why didn't I think of that? Well, have you been doing all that level of deep discernment all the years?
Yeah,
Not
the
necessarily,
discernment,
right?
letting go of your own stories to get in the clarity to be able to see it. So
Yeah.
yeah,
And
clearly.
all the people that you've helped along the way too, to this point in your life, there's a lot of data and a lot of case studies, to use your word,
Yeah, buddy.
underneath that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And yeah, so the part of the reason we just went into all that of what we like about coaching and all that was to let you know what we're about. And because we do have that total business transformation program. It's, I believe, a year-long or something about that. A year-long program where we help with all of the areas that we covered in this series. Starts with getting super clear on your messaging and what, like, being able to talk about what you do in a way that like lights you up and is infectious and lights up the people around it and helps you find the right people for you. And then helping you build your business in a way that feels good and is light and easy and enjoyable. Your marketing strategy, your offers, building everything that's aligned with whatever that calling you're feeling is, that being the foundation, getting rid of the ego, fear nonsense that kind of makes us go in wonky directions, finding like the strategies, the offers and everything that work for you, the marketing pieces. And then dealing with some of the like head trash along the way, like maybe your own confidence in what's, like that was the next step. We found people who nail their messaging, then they're not doing it because they don't quite believe it. So that's the next part, is like, well, let's get you putting this freaking out there and stop finding excuses or like going in circles about whatever. Actually getting you to like, kind of fearlessly promote yourself and put yourself out there in ways that feels good and is in line with like what you're good at and how the way that to grow the business that makes the most sense for you and your soul. And putting all the other business pieces in place, the scaling with intimacy, some of the systems, and then also just getting help with some of the head trash that comes up along the way. Was there anything I was missing there?
Well, certainly with all of these pieces in place, we want to see you have the profitability that you're seeking. So that's also a good indicator to see what's happening that's tripping you up from getting to that space. So all of those things can be addressed within this container. as you get yourself there. It is not designed to be a rigorous container where you need to feel pressured, but it's definitely designed to support you to take organic steps, as well as um, stay in the framework of what is meant for you, what is uniquely you, and rock it, basically.
Yeah. Build your business your way, get the business model and the clients that excite you, that you love, get your fees up there. I'm at least chasing Kavita fees. That's my goal that we're working on. Not quite there yet, but we'll see. And yeah, that'll be awesome. It's a good time. So if you're interested, you can, maybe there's a link somewhere. You can also, if you want to email me, I'm at brian@mccarthymindsetcoaching.com, MCCARTHY mindset coaching. I just forgot how to spell my own last name for a second there. Kavita, where can people hit you up if they want to get that Kavita in their life?
Sure. My business page, Facebook business page, is Kavita Singh Today. You can always send me a Facebook message through that space, and I will see it and respond to it. I'd prefer you start there rather than do emails, because emails take a little longer for me to get around than the instant messaging, like Brian pointed out, and rather easy to respond to a message and get right to the point rather than going through the whole email systems. I'd rather use email for like documentation and those sorts of things. But to start a conversation, we can start it right in the chat. So see me
Highly
there.
recommend starting a conversation with Kavita. She's delightful. If you haven't picked up on that already.
Yes. So I'll see you there. And if you have any questions for anything that we said, even if you want to ask me more about Brian, you could.
Get all the
And
hot gossip on what's going on in Brian's Kavita.
no, it's like, well, is this really how it works? Sometimes you want a different perspective. I don't know. People tend to reach out to me about other coaches as well. Like, hey, how does this really work? I'm like, well, this is how the person operates. If this
Yeah.
is what you want, then you'll get it from them. And whatever they're selling, you need to ask them about their program. But I know that this is how they operate and this is how they're going to serve you.
I love that about you, magical, intuitive energy people who are just like, oh, that person, here's his deal. What? That's another fun thing about Kavita coaching, is sometimes I'll just bring with her like a list of names of like, oh, I was going to reach out to these people. And she's like, this is what's going on in that person's life. This is their struggle. And that's what they're like dealing with. And I'm like, and so it just gets all this clarity of like, oh, now I know exactly. It's not just blind outreach. It's like, now I know what's going on with them and what they're struggling with and need help with. And like, I don't know, pretty freaking cool magic, if you ask me.
But that comes with responsibility, because it's Brian's client. He needs to take responsibility for those storylines and to help clear them. Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't choose storylines just because I know them too. Like, I love when somebody comes into our world and they're ready to have that clarity and transformation. I mean, that's the best space you can be in to come in. You don't need to know how, but if it's something you desire and you want to get to the other side, then this is a great place to start.
Sweet.
So, with all that being said, yeah, I think it's great to click on wherever we're putting these links. We don't know yet in this moment, but you'll find them. And like I said, reach out if there's anything that you want besides the links. Like, start the conversation.
Yep. And if you want to hit high 6-7 figures with a coaching business aligned with your soul's purpose, that's a freaking joy and built the way that makes sense for you, completely customized to you, with all the people you love serving and the way you love serving them, that gets you all lit up and going, well, this is really cool. Then, yeah, hit us up and we will help you do that. And yeah, another piece. And if you just want that first piece of just the clarity on your messaging, we also offer that as a standalone thing. So that's it. That's it for the series. Have a wonderful day. Have a wonderful life. And bye.
It's a wrap. See you guys.